Welcome to ClickFunnels Radio, the podcast that brings you the latest strategies, insights, and success stories from online marketers just like you who utilize funnels to grow their business. Our mission is simple: to help you unleash the true potential of your online business by harnessing the power of funnels. Join us every week as we bring you exclusive interviews and thought-provoking discussions that will revolutionize the way you approach online marketing. Here are your hosts, Laura Demetrius and Chris Cameron.
Welcome back to ClickFunnels Radio. I am Chris Cameron, and joined with me, as always, is Laura Demetrius. Laura, what's up?
How's it going? It's Friday for me today, so I'm excited. I know that these episodes are going to come out on Thursdays, but we are heading into a holiday weekend, and I am happy.
Oh, hey-oh. Hey, I'm very, very excited to introduce our guest today. This is somebody that I've known for 4.5, maybe almost 5 years now. And this is my favorite part, Laura, of doing ClickFunnels Radio, is the stories, success stories of, and this is another example of a conversation that we had like real quick in passing in the hall at Funnel Hacking Live, who is now this year speaking at Funnel Hacking Live. So without further ado, I would love to introduce our awesome guest, Christopher Voss. Christopher, welcome out.
I am super excited to be here. If you can't tell on my face, this is awesome. I love it. Thank you so much. I can't wait to talk to you guys. This is incredible. Thank you for having me. I really do. I really appreciate it.
Well, it was funny as Laura was looking you up. She said, I just love this guy. She says he's kind of unassuming. And then she said what were you saying about like the pictures and stuff, Laura?
I said, I love the selfie thumbs up. Like, I love a guy that can just get in camera, give a thumbs up. Like, I told Chris, I was like, I was looking him up on social media. I'm looking forward to hearing him speak, obviously, at Funnel Hacking Live. But like, I can already tell I'm going to love this guy.
Christopher is the real deal, and you're not the only one that feels that way. I can tell you, people who know Christopher fall in love with him, and that is one of the main reasons that he can pull off the brand that he pulls off, because he embodies this. I mean, his brand is literally return on relationships, R.O.R. Like, his website is the R.O.R method. So I think that's a great place to start, Christopher, too. Maybe it's a little bit about your journey, like how you came to ClickFunnels and how you decided, because I know there's been iterations of what you do. And this happens with entrepreneurs. Like you had the Father of 9 brand, and now you're really diving into this R.O.R, which is phenomenal. So maybe talk about your journey and what is working right now.
R.O.R, it's people like, where's this come from? Like, where did you learn this? And it's something that, a lot of us teach these things that are just kind of part of our DNA. It's part of who we are. And I learned it as a child. The very first experience, when I thought back, I remember I was a mama's boy, followed my mom to the.
That explains it.
Yeah, that is, Well, I go to the wallpaper store and go when my mom would pick out wallpaper. What is the most boring thing you can do as a kid is go with your mom to the wallpaper store while she picks out wallpaper. But I followed her around and went on errands with her. And so I remember she'd go to the bank and she would drop off treats to the tellers, or she would drop off a tie to the guy that sat behind the big desk. So I'm a little bit older, but back in the day, banks weren't big global banks. Banks were literally owned by, maybe the guy sitting behind the big desk was the guy that owned the bank. He's the one that loaned out the money. It was his bank, or maybe it was one of 2 banks. But anyway, important guy. So she would do all these kind of things. And it wasn't just on holidays. It wasn't like Christmas, Thanksgiving. She would just do things for these people. And I remember as a kid. So I remember this story. And this is why when you're listening to this, think of how this principle applies to what you do in your life. Whatever business you do, whether it's online, offline, whatever it is, think of how you plug this in. Because my mom went in, she had a $10,000 check. It was a big check. I think it was like $10,000. She was cashing it for one of my dad's clients. My dad was an attorney, and they got some type of a judge, whatever that attorneys get. And they got the check. And then this guy didn't, I don't know why they had to cash it for him. Doesn't really matter the story. So she walked in. Back in the day, anytime I say that, my kid's like, Dad, you just said back in the day. I'm like, shut up.
I say it.
Like, Dad, you're old.
That was a Tuesday, by the way. Back in the day was a Tuesday.
There's a road where we live, and everything past this road was farmland when I grew up. And now it's like Myers and Costco. And
oh, yeah.
My kids are like, when we drive by that road, my kids always say, hey, Dad, was this always farmland? This was farmland back in the day. I'm like, be quiet. I'm going to make you get out and walk home. So back in the day, though, you had to call the other bank and say, hey, I've got this check for like $10,000. We're going to give $10,000 out of our till to this person. Is this check going to bounce? And so they pick up the phone, they call the other bank and say, hey, is this good? Well, they couldn't get a hold of the department. So the woman came up to the counter and, I'm sitting there like, this little, following me around. And she said, Mrs. Voss, I'm sorry, we can't get a hold of the bank to verify this, but hold on one second. So she went around the desk. Now, security was way different back then. We live in a different time, but it was very loose. So she just kind of went around. She went to the guy's big desk. And I heard this kind of like, a little bit of a womp, 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 kind of, but then I picked this up. For Mrs. Voss, anything. And I'll never forget that.
Oh, wow.
So the woman came around the counter and she said, Mrs. Voss, would you like this in big bills or small bills?
Yes.
Is there a bag that we can put it in? And I'm like, so the guy with the bank was willing to extend themselves a huge amount of money. But the reason they did that for is because they knew, liked, and trusted my mom. They knew that she was not going to come in with a bad check. She knew, they knew about my mom. They knew that her husband was an attorney. And if she came off the street and they had no idea who they were and there was no rapport, there was no relationship. So the return on relationship for her was she didn't have to come back another day. Just all those things that made that convenient for my mom. And so I'll never forget that. So that is where the core of what it is that we do, because if you give, and you don't ask for anything in return, that's what blows people's minds, because usually there's a give and then there's an ask. The ask is fine, but the ask has to be timed. It has to be at the right time. And you need to know when that is. And that's the process that you need to learn and to have part of you so that if everything is one-sided, then there's no R.O.R. There has to be a return, because if there isn't a return, then it's all one-sided and the relationship isn't going to work. So that's why return on relationship is so important, because you do give and eventually there's going to be an opportunity to come back. And I think we're going to get this we're going to talk about my story today. I have tremendous returns on my relationships with people that you guys know and you're close to.
And I would love to talk about those. I think your business model is so cool. And I love that your business was born when you were a child, and maybe you knew it, maybe you didn't at the time, but by hearing, for Mrs. Voss, anything, you knew in that moment that is it's the relationship that matters. Things can happen and you can do things, and there's power in having strong relationships. So I would love to know, you told us about your journey, but now like how you've monetized that, how you've created a business out of this, and how you can use these beautiful relationships that you've built to grow.
Yeah, I want to tack onto that too. In that same vein, is I think Laura's onto something here. It's easy to talk about relationships in the neighborhood, at the bank, at the local, supermarket, but why funnels?
Yeah.
How does that translate online? So I know that's building off her question too, but I'm interested to hear.
So I want to build off that question, but I want to say one really quick thing. And this is so important for all of you that are listening to this to know this. I'm here on this call. I'm on this interview with Laura and Chris because of a relationship. I would not be here. I would be dead. In this video over my shoulder, I have 9 amazing children that are a little shadowed out there behind me, but my wife would be a widow and my children would be fatherless if it wasn't for a relationship. And that's why I'm so passionate about this, because I have a dear friend of mine by the name of Wallace Nelson, who's very involved in ClickFunnels in the community. He has an incredible program called R.O.R. You guys should interview him on your show.
We will.
He took me into his health and wellness program. And I used to be 400 pounds. I wish we could put the picture up. I have a picture of me standing in one leg and my other son standing in the other leg of my pants. So it's 2 of us in a pair of pants. Those are my fat pants. And I've saved them. I have them in my closet. Not that I'm going to wear them again someday, but it's just a great reminder. I should maybe bring those out on stage and do like a drop thing or something. I don't know.
Oh, that'd be cool.
But I used to be 400 pounds. Wallace Nelson helped me get healthy. He coached me. He didn't charge me because of the return on relationship. My reach out to him, his return with me is, hey, I care about you. He called me one day and was like, I want to put you in my program and I want to coach you one-on-one. I'm going to let you text me when you feel like you need to eat something that you shouldn't or you're struggling. I lost all this weight. And I had a stroke.
Wow.
And if I was 400-pound Chris,
You wouldn't have made it.
I wouldn't have made it. It would have been catastrophic. And so I never would have met Wallace and never had a relationship with him if it wasn't for my relationship with Russell Brunson. And so I tell Russell all the time, and he's the type that's like, God, he doesn't like you to talk about him and don't say all these things. But if I wouldn't have started following Russell and developed a relationship with him, I wouldn't have met Dave Woodward. I wouldn't have met the next person, the next person, the next person. And so people need to understand that in your vast thing of relationships, you need to build your network of people big and wide and have them be as authentic and solid as possible, because you have no idea what time in your life that you're going to need one of those relationships. You might need someone to help you build a funnel. You might need someone to help you do traffic or email or whatever it is in your business. You don't know, but someday you are going to know, and then you can go to that network. And so I'm alive today. So am I passionate about this? Oh, yes. And that's why I'm so excited to be on stage and tell 7,000 funnel hackers and everyone that's going to watch this someday, this is how important it is. This is what is at stake. And I say this, every single thing in life and business swings on hinges. And those hinges I call relationships. And hinges are what open up doors. And so if you want doors of opportunity to open your life, doors of opportunity to open your business, have really strong hinges, have lots of them. Because you have lots of hinges, that means you have lots of doors. You have lots of doors, that means you have lots of opportunities. And so that
so well said.
is a story. And Maya Angelou says, people will forget what you did, they'll forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel.
Yep.
And that's what R.O.R is about, is it's creating a feeling. I mean, I have some incredible friends that I reached out to, but then they reached out back to me. And I know you asked the question about monetizing, and I want to get into that, but you guys are rebooting the show because of this is Dave Woodward's show that you guys are
100%,
doing.
Yeah.
And Dave was a dear friend of mine, and we don't have time to get in it, but there's things that I was able to serve and help him with. And there's things that he did for me. And some of these things that he did for me were massive at times in my life when I was at my lowest. When I was laying in my bed, hooked up to machines, worried, I recorded a video to my children, and that was the video that if I died, this was the last video that they saw of their dad.
Oh, wow.
Because sometimes it's, strokes come and sometimes come in waves, and I'm laying there scared to death. Did I get this in time? Is something else going to happen? And you hear these machines going off, and I recorded this video to my kids and said, hey kids, daddy's going to be okay. I love you. And, I was doing that video. So, but here's the cool thing. This is what's powerful about relationships. My wife was convincing me to take my phone, and I'm like, I don't want my phone. I'm like, I just had a stroke and machines are going off. I'm scared to death. And so she convinced me to take my phone. Well, I knew why. She handed me my phone. She goes, check your text messages. So I'm laying in bed and I check my text message. I don't recognize the phone number. I click on it and it says, hey, Christopher, this is Russell Brunson. And I wanted you to know that we're praying for your family. We heard what happened and we're thinking of you. Couple seconds later, ping, Dave Woodward. Couple seconds later, ping, Steve Larson.
Yeah.
These guys were literally passing. I don't know how Russell got my phone number. I'm sure he has a way to get, but they were passing it along, and everyone was lighting up my phone saying, I'm thinking of you. Now, you can imagine I'm in my bed, scared to death, worried that I'm going to die. I'm at the lowest point that you probably can ever be in your life of knocking at death's door. And Russell texted me and said, I'm thinking of you, and Dave and Steve. So you don't know when that return's going to be. And so it's just crucial to give. Don't expect anything in return. And a lot of people say, when do you know when to ask for someone's help after you give and give and give and reach out? And the answer I give to people is, with R.O.R, you don't have to ask, because people say to you, what can I do to help? I had someone in the ClickFunnels community send me a text message that says, Christopher, if you don't tell me what I can do for you tomorrow, I'm going to unfriend you and take you out of my phone. And I'm like, honey, do you think he's serious? And then if I mention the person, I don't want to say because I don't, but if I said, okay, yeah, he was serious. So I'm like, the next day, I'm like, here's what you can do to help me. But monetizing, do you want me to, I'll answer that for you. Mark Victor Hansen, who wrote a book called Chicken Soup for the Soul, incredible author. He knows everybody, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg. I mean, the guy knows every single motivational self-help person on planet Earth because he's either worked with them, done a book with them, or whatever. Mark was on an interview on Amazon, and it really touched me. Him and his wife, Crystal, did this interview, and it just really hit me. I needed to hear it that day. And I said, you know what? I want to tell him thank you. So I R.O.R'd him so that the touch that I did for him arrived literally like 5 minutes after he got off the interview. Doorbell rang. There's a whole process that we do to do this. But anyway, doorbell rang after I got the interview, and there's this gorgeous tropical plant. And he reached out to me and thanked me for it via email. I don't know how he got my email. So I continued to pour myself into Mark and serve him and try and build a relationship with him. And Chris and Laura, remind me to tell you a story of the boy at lunch and the brownies, because that's how we'll wrap this up. Just remember brownies.
Okay.
So anyway, my phone rang one day. Here's the monetization. This is answering your question. Those of you who are listening to this, wrap your head around Mark Victor Hansen, billion-dollar companies, knows everybody, written more books than anyone on planet Earth, friends with every guy in The Secret. My phone rang and I didn't recognize the number. I thought it was a spam call. So I answered it kind of like we answer spam calls, kind of jerky. And I'm like, whatever. And then it's like, hello, this is Mark Victor Hansen. I'm looking for Christopher Voss. And I'm like, okay. Hey, sorry about that. I didn't recognize the number. Sorry, I sounded kind of mad. I didn't really mean that. And he said, well, no, don't worry about it. And he said, Christopher, and he said, I want to thank you for what you just sent me. It was something else other than the very first thing I sent him. He said, this was the nicest thing anyone's ever sent me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. This was well received. Hey, Christopher, please tell me about what you do. And please tell me how I can help you.
Wow.
There's the monetization. And then he said, if this isn't monetization, I don't know what is. Christopher, what I want you to do is I want you to think of anybody that you need help from or would like to ask something. If you want to ask someone to come speak at your event. Well, I'm sorry. I said to Mark, thank you, Mark. And so I explained to Mark about R.O.R. And he goes, this is wonderful. I love this. And I said, Mark, would you speak at my event in early November? He goes, absolutely. Absolutely.
No way.
And so then he said, hey, he said, I want you to think of someone else that you want to speak at your symposium. Pick anybody. I go, anybody? He goes, yeah, anybody. I guess, he probably knows them. He said, send them a message and tell them that you want them to speak at your symposium. And when they ask why, tell them because Mark Victor Hansen said you should. I'm like, I can say that? He goes, yes, you can say that. So I started reaching out to, I reached out to, he's really good friends with Sharon Lecter, who wrote Robert Kiyosaki's books. So I started reaching out to all these people, and people did respond. And then I had 32 people speaking already. It was my first virtual event. A lot of people are like, I'm going to do a virtual event. I'm just going to speak myself. My first virtual event was 32 people. They're like, Christopher, you really swung for the fences on this one.
Yeah, it was a lot.
If I knew Joe and Eileen Wilder back then, it would have been $1 million funnel, but I didn't know what I was doing. But I did it. And I had 32 people. Russell was my keynote speaker. But anyway, what's the monetization? I can't put a value yet on that. So anyway, 2 weeks ago, I'm sitting at my daughter's softball game. My phone goes off. It's a text message from Mark Victor Hansen. I'm like, cool. Love it when people like that reach out to you and say, hey. Previous to that, he sent me pictures of him on a buggy with his grandkids at Huntington Beach on his vacation, or a picture of him and Crystal at the beach. This guy didn't know who I was. And now we're sending pictures of,
Yeah.
It's a video that Mark sent me. It was about 2.5 minutes long. And basically it's a testimonial. Remind me to show you sometime. People would pay lots of money to have that person at that status and that influence to say, he said at the end of the video, when you work with Christopher, you can take that to the bank, is what he said.
That's coming full circle, isn't it?
So I can turn that into a Facebook ad. I can use that as social proof. Hey, do you want to work with me? Can I help you reach out to people? Well, here's someone that didn't know who I was, and now we're really good friends. So everyone that's listening, turn your heroes into your friends, because those of us that are listening, a lot of you are in the ClickFunnels community, most likely all of you, probably 98% of you listening is in the ClickFunnels community. Look at everyone that's got 2 comma clubs and 10X and 20 and all that. All the successful people that are massively successful financially, from Alex Hermosi to the Poolins to, I mean, you name it. They didn't get there. James P. Friel, all those people, they didn't get there by themselves. They got there with somebody else. There was someone else that helped them. So you want to talk about return on relationship. All of those people got to where they're at. Russell, he told at my symposium, he didn't build ClickFunnels on Facebook ads. He built it on relationships. He said right in my symposium, it was relationships. So they will help you get there. So does that, in a roundabout way, answer your monetization question?
Totally.
It totally does.
Yeah. And it's all about value, right? And value can be different to different people. It doesn't necessarily mean it's you don't put a dollar amount on it. And when it comes to relationships, I mean, you talked about your story, and wow, like how impactful and what an experience to be in a hospital bed and with the children that you have and the legacy that you want to leave behind. And you're thinking about all the things that have happened to lead up to that point, and your return on relationships with people who were heroes to you. Your return was your life. You got your life back. And that is just like, that's so incredibly powerful. And I think the cool thing about your business and everything that you're doing is the return on relationship is going to mean different things to different people, but the value, no matter what, if you care truly about those relationships, is always going to pay off.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love the full circle thing, because when you have those relationships, that's what's so funny, that is where your story starts with your mom. Is the transaction. You can take it to the bank, right? Yeah. It is a sure thing. And for Mrs. Voss, anything. And I think a lot of people feel that way too about you, Christopher. What I think would be a cool next thing for you to explain, though, is why funnels? Like, yeah, we can talk about all these return on relationship and everything else. How does a funnel fit into that? How does ClickFunnels fit into that? I mean, don't get me wrong, ClickFunnels community is the best out there, right? I mean, people stay for this culture. It is all about so many great friends in the community. But why funnels?
I went back to what I said before, that, people like to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And there's a lot of options out there. And I mean, there's options out there nowadays, but why ClickFunnels? Why funnels? Because number one, you need something that's going to make it easy for you. I mean, to get technical, it just makes it so easy to be able to come up with an idea and then be able to very quickly put something together that you can test, put out there, and give. You need somewhere that somebody can come to. I mean, I put R.O.R out there. I can talk about it, but I need some place that I can send them that they can go get more information. They have a place. Sure. I mean, I was just on a call with someone earlier, and she's like, I sent her to my funnel. She's like, I talked to her. She's like, this sounds great. I sent her to my funnel, and she looked at it. She goes, this is awesome. And then she was able to process the order and be able to come into my world. I mean, you have to have a gateway. You have to have a point of entry into your world. And there's no better way to bring someone into your world than through a funnel. And I go back to people you know, like, and trust. The great thing about ClickFunnels is the person that's running the company, the person that founded the company. I mean, you guys deal with these people all the time, all day long. All the people at ClickFunnels, all the people that are partners of the company, these are all people that you know, like, and trust. You like, and you can trust them. And so that's what's great about the ClickFunnels community. Like, when you go to Funnel Hacking Live, which I'm so blessed. Thank you so much, Russell Brunson and everyone, for letting me come speak. I'm so excited. I can't wait. I just wrote my stage talk with you guys right now. So I'm just going to record this and then I'll lip sync it when I'm on stage.
Yeah, perfect.
But I got to shorten it though, because I don't have this much time. But you have to have people you know, like, and trust. And in this community, you've got all these like-minded people that use the same product and same service. And we're all on the same page and we're all helping each other. And it's just great to go to an environment, a room. I remember I was at Funnel Hacking Live. My wife was in the bedroom building a funnel. And that's how easy it is. I mean, my wife is sitting on the bed with a laptop. She's building a funnel, and she was having a little bit of a snag. And I'm in the hallway, And Brent Copeters with ClickFunnels comes up and says, "Hey, you look like you're a little flustered." I'm like, "Yeah, my wife's trying to get some. I came up with this idea and I want to launch it, and this is great, but I'm doing something wrong." And he walked over to the table and he grabbed, I can't remember who it was, but he grabbed someone that was the chief customer service, whatever. And he said, "Hey, come here, go get your wife." So I brought Jennifer over and we got her laptop out and he helped us. But that's someone that's a partner.
So cool.
Right up there. And that's the thing. I mean, that's what it's about. And that's the relationship. Hey, you're just as important as anybody here. And so that's what you get with ClickFunnels. That's what you get with the community. That's what you get with the product.
Perfect answer. Perfect answer. So I'm going to ask you one thing. You keep using, you use the term R.O.R.'d, like a verb, like an action, right? And so talk a little bit about that. Like what comes to mind, right, is Chet Holmes, right, is Traffic Secrets, is Dream 100, is what are you doing for like to R.O.R. someone? Do you have some examples of some of the things you've done?
So I want to turn that catchphrase, like, back in the day when I grew up, you Google or you use Yahoo or Excite to search for stuff.
And now you Googled it.
Now the key, everyone's like, "Hey, do you go Google it?"
Yeah. So
when it comes to relationships, I want R.O.R. or R.O.R. them. I want that is the brand. I want that to be the catchphrase and say, instead of building relationships, you R.O.R. them. So a couple examples. Yeah, I'll give you a couple, examples. The most important thing that people need to remember, I call it the 3 W's. What, when, and why. So it's not just about gifting. I mean, anybody can gift, but the thing is, you want to create an emotional response in an individual. You want to stir a feeling within them. My wife will remember something I said 25 years ago. I'm like, "How do you remember that?" And I asked a friend of mine, "How does she remember that?" Because women usually tie an event with an emotion. And so when you tie something with an emotion, they never forget it.
It's true.
Guys do it differently. And so
Laura's over here like, "Yep, preach."
Yeah, totally. So what you want to do when you think of the what, when, and why, what do you send? Why are you sending it? And the last one is really important. When? Because sometimes the when outpowers the what and the why. So for example, I'll give you an example. One that just jumps in my mind. Dan Henry went on Instagram. He was leaving to go on his $15 million yacht that afternoon to go sail somewhere. And he was upset that he had to run to the store because he was out of his favorite sparkling drink called LaCroix. And I'm like, ding. When? What? Okay, I got the what. Why? Because he doesn't want to have to go to the store. And he's aggravated because he's going, 1% problems. He's got to go to the store before he goes to his boat.
Poor guy's out of LaCroix.
I
love Dan.
So, yeah. So you guys, so what, when, and why? Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
When is really strong. The what is very strong. And the why follows up real close to third. So I delivered 25 cases of LaCroix to his front door within about 30 minutes to 45 minutes of when he went on Instagram and said he had to go to the store. So I knew he was at home. Barricaded his door once again and then put a card with it that said, "Hey, you're all set for a while. Now you don't have to go to the store." My Facebook Messenger went off. Ping. "Okay, dude, you got my attention. Thank you so much. Now I got to take all this crap into my house."
So Dan.
And I cleaned it up. I mean, I didn't say it like how Dan said, but I cleaned that up because this is a PG-13 show. So, but the what, when, and why, and so him and I actually had dialogue. We were talking about helping him with R.O.R, return on relationship. And then he ended up pivoting and going in a different direction with that product that he was working on. So we ended up working together. But there were other things that I did that I touched Dan with. And you hear Dan say all the time, well, Dave Woodward said this. People send me tons of stuff. Alex Sharfin, Christopher, I get stuff sent all the time to me and it sits in a box in my office. But every time I walk into my office, I stare at that thing you sent me on my desk. And I just think of you every single time I walk into my office. And your thing is actually sitting on a shelf that only things that my daughters and my wife give me. Remember I said emotional response. If you can give someone something that's so special, they'll put it on a shelf in their office that only things come from their daughter and their wife.
Yeah.
Do you hold a place in their heart? If you're in trouble and you need help in business and life, if you message that person, will they get back to you? Absolutely. Because all of us are climbing Mount Everest. All of us want to summit all of us want to get to the top. That's the goal. We know that journey up there is dangerous and scary, and you can't make it to Mount Everest. Sir Edmund Hillary, who summited Mount Everest, didn't make it himself. He had a Sherpa with him. So all of us that get to the top, everyone that walks on stage, Russell, everyone, they didn't get there alone. They got there with helpers and people, and it's a scary journey. It is very scary. I mean, some days in life, you're looking like, I'm going to drop off this cliff. I mean, life feels like you're literally going to take one step. You're going to go down 20,000 feet. But you got someone there that grabs a hold of you and says, hey, don't step there. You're going to fall off and drop for 20. So anyway, that's my example of something I did for somebody, but the what, when, and why is the key thing. So just don't send people, you don't want them to have something they're just going to toss in a box or something that are open.
No Amazon gift cards?
No Amazon gift cards. No, nothing with your name on it. Here for your listeners, here's a freebie. Want me to give everyone a freebie? So here's a freebie. You don't have to, here's a freebie. Send somebody a handwritten note.
Yeah.
Go buy a
Very
pack
powerful.
of thank you cards. Write a short little note. Don't write a thesis. Don't write it real small so they get their glasses and they got to read the whole thing. Short little. Hey, Chris, I just want to say I was on the video call with you and Laura, and man, you've just got your hair. You just got great hair. I love your hair. Whoever does your hair, whoever, or your glasses. I don't know. I'm gonna give it. Just say something nice and positive about the person. Keep it short. Lick a stamp, put it on it, and send it. They're gonna get this little card in the mail because mail is just bills and stuff that you hate. Now they got this little card, and it's the people go, this is handwritten.
It took time.
Because computers now can write cards. People know that. When you get like a card and it's like, oh, laser printer, it looks, and then people are always like, well, how do they know how to get a hold of me? Here's a great way. You told them exactly how to get a hold of you without making them feel like, hey, make sure you thank me for this. Your name's on the outside of the envelope with the return address. They know where you live. They know your name. Boom, boom, boom. And now you've planted a seed in their head. And then every thank you note I ever get, I never throw them away. They're on my pin board. I've got them, and I never throw them away because it's like, someone took the time to send this to me.
Yeah.
And so anyway, there's a freebie for you listening. Send 2 thank you cards out a day, and you will literally land $1 million deal, because I had someone land a huge deal just from a thank you note. So sometimes it doesn't take a gift. Sometimes it's just, hey, I recognize you. I love you. I'm grateful for you.
Wow.
Before we go, I know we got to hear this brownie story, right? This was supposed to all come back to the kid with the brownie. So we got to wrap up with that. I wrote a note.
Thank you. And I forgot. I'm 51. I had a stroke. So sometimes I just, a Kramer right on my head. I forget something. So here's what you do. And here's the other freebie in addition to the thank you card. We'll close with the brownies. Think of it like this. You're a kid, and it's very competitive on the elementary school playground, and you always want to be the top dog with dodgeball, soccer, kickball. Holy cow. If your team was like, you strut around chest bumping and doing all this stuff, we're the best kickball team. Well, how do you be the best kickball team? You need the kid that can belt the ball the farthest. And so it's Jimmy. So let's label him as Jimmy. No, let's call him Chris. That'd be
okay. That's fair.
No, we're going to go even. It's her name is Laura.
Even better.
Laura's her name, and Laura is just can belt the ball. And so like, I want to be on her team. When she picks, she's a captain. I want to be picked first, second. When I'm a captain, I want them to be going, pick me, pick me, pick me. So how do you do that? Well, here's what you do. You go sit next to Laura or Chris at lunch, and you look over and take a peek at look what's in their lunchbox. What are their treats? What sandwiches do they have every single day? What are they drinking out of their thermos? And then listen into the conversation. What games do they like to play? And just kind of eavesdrop a little bit. Don't think of this in a creeper way. You're intel gathering. You're gathering information. Will you hear one of them say, I love brownies? Go home that night. Hey, Mom, could you make some brownies? And I want to take one to school. And I want to take an extra one for my friend or soon to be friend. So you go to lunch the next day. Hey, Laura, my mom was making brownies, and you don't say, hey, I made this special thing of brownies for you. Because then they're like, no, hey, mom making brownies. I brought an extra one for you. Enjoy. Oh, I love brownies. This is like my favorite dessert. So now you're on the kickball field. Laura gets picked as a captain. Laura's looking through, she's looking along the wall. She's like, I want you on my team. Yes, we're going to win today. And so that what you want to do is pay attention to people, pay attention about what's important to them. They say work your way in or buy your way in. We know buying your way in is paying money to be in amazing masterminds and different groups like that. Work your way in. That Dave Woodward, that was something he told me, Christopher, you got to work your way in. You got to buy your way in. Work your way in. Pay attention. Learn something about them and then do something kind for them. And then when it comes time to pick teams, because all of us want to be picked on the winning team. All of us want to win. And how do we win? We win with other people. How do we get the favor of other people? Get them to know, like, and trust you. And you're always going to get picked for the best kickball team. I guarantee you that every single day. And your kickball team is your funnel, your business, life, everything you're working on. And I guarantee you, if you go all in on relationships, your life will change. I'm living proof of it. I got a pair of pants that are gigantic, and I'm alive today because of it. So I'm very passionate about this. And I only cried like twice in this interview. So I think I did really good. Because I'm
really, really great advice.
So anyway, there's your brownie story. Take that, as Mark Victor Hansen says, you can take that to the bank.
I was just going to say that, Christopher. All right. What a way to end the podcast.
Sorry.
Now, Laura, any other closing thoughts?
I'm overwhelmed. I'm emotional. You have such a beautiful story. I'm excited for people to learn more about you. And maybe we didn't talk about a whole lot of the tactics or the transactions that are happening here and what your business is. So please go ahead and let viewers know right now where they can learn more about you.
Thank you. So here's the best way. I'm a relationship guy. I like to talk and speak to people. So if you go to the Mr. R.O.R, TheMrROR, go to themrror.com. It's my calendar link, and you can book 15 minutes with me, and it's legit. It's not a bot. It's not an AI. Like when I do videos to people, I grab my cheeks now and go, it's really me. I'm not like, I'm like jiggling my cheeks going, I'm not an AI. I'm not a bot. It's really me. It's really Christopher. Look, I'm like, so yeah, the Mr. R.O.R, themrror.com. And if you want to reach out to me and learn more, book a call with me. I'd be glad to hop on a Zoom and answer any questions that you have. That's how you get hold of me.
Thank you, Christopher. I love your story. I love your purpose behind everything. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to talk to you today. And I certainly look forward to seeing you on stage at Funnel Hacking Live. And I know so many people will also have so much to gain from that. So if you're listening to this and you don't already have your tickets, go to funnelhackinglive.com, grab them. You'll get to see amazing people like Christopher on the stage talking about these very impactful, powerful things.
Thanks again, Christopher. You're the man.
Hey, thank you both. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Chris. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.